It is that time again. It's actually an emergency episode of Bedlam Buds. It's Ryan here, and I will still always be Boomer Sooner. This is my buddy Jeremy.
Go Pokes, although today, have to say I'm a little disappointed in the outcome.
So what we're talking about here is Alabama 34, Oklahoma 24. The Sooners were up 17-0, and then Alabama took over. It was, I told my mother-in-law, this was a Dickensian football game with Charles Dickens. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Jeremy, just before we talk about this, let me read you some stats. Total yards, Oklahoma 362, Alabama 260. Passing 307 to 232, rushing 55 to 28. Now penalties, Oklahoma had one more than Alabama, but what Oklahoma did not have today was that magic in their defense. There were no takeaways. No takeaways. What were your overall thoughts of the game and the Sooners' loss?
Well, I honestly could not believe that OU gave up 34 points. Bama finished with a 34-7 run, really, after OU came out and just absolutely controlled the game. I was shocked. I predicted OU would win by 13. And when they were up 17-0, I was like, shoot, I'm going to miss it because they're going to win by 30, like Ryan was saying. And it turned out, ironically, if you think about it, you called a massive, long pick six that was going to turn the tide of the game. And you got it, but you got
the wrong team. Yeah.
But, I mean, OU was in it till really the last 5 minutes or so. You got the question of, man, I saw Des Bryant one time as a Dallas Cowboy catch a ball, take about 7 steps, fall toward the end zone, drop the ball, and they called it incomplete.
Right.
Bama, your guy catches the ball, takes 2 steps, falls down, the ball pops out.
Right. If that guy caught it, then Des caught it against Green Bay.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But, I mean, I said that if Bama's receivers could catch, they would have won by 3 scores as the game was going on. And I did not think that would happen. OU's defense, honestly, I mean, still at the first half, controlled the game. Bama scored a block field goal block punt and the pick six, right? Those led to direct 14 points. And, if wishes and nuts were candy if wishes and butts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. You can't take those away. Bama made that happen. I'm just shocked. I'm just very surprised. I thought OU was the better team coming in. I thought that Bama didn't deserve to be there. And it turns out maybe I was wrong. I think that OU kind of gave the game away.
I agree. And I did predict 31-6, but I will tell you, I was tired of being the naysayer, the doubter, because when you look at the 4 wins after OU was 6-2 and they had to have them all, they were all in situations where they got 2 or 3 key takeaways, and the defense proved that they were hard to kill. But many of us who are realists said, that's hard to replicate. That's over and over and over. Really, that's the thing that you're going to depend on? And they did not get it this game. And worse yet, the offense that was good in the first quarter, they just folded. What's the word? They disappeared.
Disappeared, I think, is the right word. I mean, and Bama figured some things out,
Right.
which I was very caught off because usually OU figures those things out. Maybe because OU had that initial lead and you could look at their 2 touchdowns as well. We had turnovers. You can't, that's not going to happen in the second half. But I'm still just shocked by the fact that in the first half, I think Alabama had like -2 rushing yards. And then the first thing they do in the second half is bust off a 35-yard run. Bama went to a delayed run game. If you notice that, they went to more of a delayed run game because that OU pressure come in, then they could dance around through the middle and scoot. And as simple as that sounds, that might have been the key. I don't know.
Good adjustments from Alabama for sure. There were also some boneheaded plays by OU. Taylor Wine in that hit out of bounds. He can be like, oh, what? Dude, you laid your shoulder into him. And it is what it is. There were some stupid penalties by OU. The penalty by Eddie Pierre-Louis, who honestly, I don't want to call anybody out. He's only a freshman. He did not have a good game. There were several plays where I saw it. You're just getting blown by. Um, the offensive line struggled. By the way, the offensive line got some guys healthy this game. And so you were thinking it was going to be better, except that maybe it disrupted continuity because they just weren't as good. They could never. I wrote some notes down. They never got the run game going. Deion Burks looked good today in terms of reception. My father-in-law pointed out though that Deion Burks is great when he's catching the ball. He's not very good when he's not catching the ball.
Well, right. Okay, I have a question. Um, do you think that it was Alabama's adjustments or OU's kind of bonehead plays?
No, I think it's Alabama's adjustments mostly. I think that especially in a situation where everybody thinks that DeBoer might be a candidate at Michigan and fans are down on him. Yeah, you could see the spirit of those coaches in the press box, and I think they made good adjustments on offense. And OU did not get the turnovers. Yeah, that's where OU has thrived, is getting the turnovers. Without the turnovers, one has to say, how many of those 4 wins would the Sooners have actually gotten?
Okay, so here's a question on the offensive line. Do you think it wasn't necessarily, possibly rust? Those guys that were coming back, that had gotten healthy, and maybe this kind of adds on to your point. You cannot simulate live game action. No matter what you do in practice, you cannot simulate live game action. And is it possible that they maybe did get a little bit in over their heads by
Well,
doing that, by bringing in those
you bet
guys back?
could be. I don't know. It's one of those things. Ours is not a podcast where we're going to spend 7 hours watching film. It's just ain't nobody. It's like Sweet Brown. Ain't nobody got time for that. That we'll leave that to Gabe and Teddy and the guys who actually played the game. I don't know about that, but something was off with the offensive line today. The running game didn't get going, and I was sort of joking there about Deion Burks. It was my father-in-law somebody we were watching and said, "Boy, Deion doesn't like to block, does he?" I don't know that. That's kind of pejorative. I don't want to say that, but Oklahoma did not get Isaiah Satania involved. He caught a touchdown. He was lucky to catch that touchdown. It was kind of awkward, but did not get Satania involved, and he was certainly handcuffed on punt and kick returns. He didn't get to return any of those until the very, very end.
Well, would you kick to him? Would
No,
you allow him the chance to?
well, they kicked to him. They kicked to him. He
What?
fair caught all of them.
But the way their coverage came down, they. Let me tell you, Alabama, their coverage. You're right, especially that last punt where it kind of looked like he had a little crease, and all of a sudden, some giant, probably third string tight end smokes it. I mean, Alabama's coverage on those punts it was good.
Right.
It was just good.
Speaking of punts and special teams, Grayson Miller didn't have his best game. Of course, Grayson Miller came to OU from UCO. It was a major part of the momentum change when he dropped the hike from center on that punt and gave Alabama the ball, which led to a TD. It wasn't even really a blocked punt. It was a muff punt.
Right.
He had a poor game.
Right.
And then he had a shank later in the game that gave Alabama fantastic field position. Tate Sandell, he felt bad. There was a lot of attention on him at the end for missing 2 field goals. But frankly, he has been the MVP all year. You get the biggest. I'm drinking an old fashioned of bourbon. Tate, have yourself a bourbon, man. You had a great year, dude. A great year.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring that up. That the one field goal that he missed. Now OU has their wide left, like OSU does, to keep us out of the national titles. And the second one, the 50-something yarder, you can never fault the kid for that.
Right.
A college kicker, considering he I think tied the record for the most 50+ yard kicks in a season at college. How can you complain about that? Yeah, I mean, the first one that, the over the upright, trust me, I'm still bitter,
Right.
bitter about 2011. Bitter. So I can totally understand why an OU fan would be like, come on, that really
Well,
killed the game.
it did
That
it
really killed the
did.
game.
Yeah.
But
And I was just gonna say, when that kick happened, and everybody's like, "Oh, good." I was like, "No, that was not good."
yeah, yeah, yeah. That unfortunately, the rules are if it's not 100% inside, it ain't good. Trust me, I've done the research.
Right, right, right. It has to be 100% good.
I've 15 years of research on it, but you can't fault the
No,
kid. That kid had a
no,
great,
great.
but we all know what happens. People are going
Right.
to
Well,
say because
and the defense wasn't as great, but you know what? Defense, bourbon. You deserve it. Enjoy. You had a great year. You know what?
all year.
All year. Great year. Now, I will tell you, Jeremy, that's where I draw the line. Because John Mateer, after the first quarter, he was ass. He wasn't good. He was not good.
Yeah.
It's so good year, 10-2. Thank you. Now, I'm not saying go away, but Jeremy, the discussion has to be had. The NIL is a marketplace. My mother-in-law said, "So is he going to come back?" And I just said, "We will find out what OU coaches really think about him because they'll say in public right now that, we love John. Of course we want him back. We'll find out because tomorrow, Monday, becomes real. And if all of a sudden the Sooners decide that they want to go looking elsewhere, John will be looking for a new home. He's not going pro. He's going to have to play another year."
No. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, and you and I don't know this. It used to be an amateur sport where you didn't have all these issues. Now they're professionals. Now it's a business. And so if it's in OU's best business interest to not bring him
Right.
back, don't bring him back. And I'm sorry that, yeah, well, but they're 18, 19-year-old boys. They're making hundreds of thousands of
Millions.
dollars.
He's a millionaire.
They are I'm some of them are making
Yeah.
millions.
Yeah.
I don't feel badly. I mean, I'm sorry.
I like
No, I'm
I like John, but come on, man. That throw where he hit the Alabama player in the helmet, this is not softball, man. You
Yeah.
it I got
He's it was
I love Kyler Murray, but I've got news for you. This is a tall man's sport. You need to be a little bit taller. It just, I wish I were taller. I wish I were a baller. Yeah, it's just
wish I had a
right, right.
phone
Great,
out
great song. But it just what it is.
$6
And he wasn't very effective with the run. He was at times. He scored the touchdown. He got us a first down. But boy, he ran out of gas like you and I playing basketball when we were in our early 40s. He was worn out by the end of it. And he's a warrior. No doubt he's a warrior, but
Yeah.
the talent level just doesn't seem to be there, man.
Okay, but here's what you got to remember is what is the market? And is there a good market for quarterbacks that are an upgrade? He's been in the system a year. He knows the system. And so he has an advantage already. I hope he stays at OU. Personally, I hope he stays at OU. I think that that's a good fit for him. I don't see him as necessarily being a NFL type of quarterback. Now he could be like a Quinn Ewers and hang on for for a
Right.
little bit, but and who is actually going to start this
Right.
game, as I say, but so for OU's sake, I hope that he stays unless I mean, and again I trying to think of the quarterback market.
Well, and
You know,
not
that
just the
they're
quarterback
for.
market, because as we're talking about this, I'm thinking the entire offense needs to improve. Satania was their highlight. They didn't use Jaron Canick nearly enough this year. The running game was poor. It was poor to average. Poor, really, for OU standards, poor. Offensive line was mostly poor, and it's been poor for several years now. And so when you think about that and think about last year with Jackson Arnold and this year, the offense was again the albatross. You asked Venables, the fans demanded that he get an OC in here that could actually change things. It didn't happen. Now, the good news is that we learned from an inspirational perspective. Venables is the man. He's a guy to lead men. But I don't know that he solved the offensive problem. And I don't know that Ben Arbuckle is the answer.
Well, I mean, didn't Venables take over play calling?
Oh, no, defense. He became the defensive coordinator.
Okay,
Yeah, Venables was
okay,
no part of the
okay.
offense.
That's okay. See, I was confused about that because somebody told me that today, and I was like, that can't be right. He's a
Right.
defensive guy. Um, yeah, some of it's not play calling though. Some of it is, it's not the
Well,
X's and O's. It's
okay,
the
so
Johnny and Joe.
it is the Johnny and Joes, and it's the Johns, because John Mateer holding that ball back there like Jackson Arnold would. You gotta let it go, buddy. You gotta let it go.
He took
he
a sack.
can't see the field. Wake up, people. He can't see the field.
Yeah, but sometimes a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And again, he's been there a year. He's gone through the process. He understands the offense. He now has an entire nine
Right.
months.
So he's gonna grow a
improve.
couple inches.
Well, I mean, but maybe.
David Robinson did.
uh, well, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, David Robinson was like a 5'11" freshman, and then he
He's
finished at 7'4" or something. And he was trained for submarines, by
right,
the way.
right.
Um,
Oops.
which is why
Oops.
yeah, which is why he got out early, and just the NBA. But uh, gosh, man, having gone through this with Oklahoma State last year, where basically almost the entire roster was turned over. Oklahoma State won one game
And then it turned
against
yeah,
UT.
yeah, yeah, so it turned over and did just as well.
Well, I mean, actually, it was
Right,
worse.
so, it's from an offensive perspective, though.
Honestly,
Yeah.
you could argue that last year was Oklahoma State's worst year ever. But so you have to be careful about that turnover, about always wanting the new shiny when you have something already good
Yeah.
right there. I'm just trying to.
So, but the thing is that wasn't he kind of toward the end, because we're like, hard to kill, he's a warrior, but those last 4 games, we didn't win those games because of John Mateer and the offense. We won it in spite of the offense, and it was because of the defense. The minute you don't have that defense with all those takeaways, the problems with the offense become really
Okay,
glaring.
we've had this conversation before, and what did I say? Trent Dilfer. Trent Dilfer, game manager, one of my all-time favorite
Yeah.
quarterbacks, and he won a Super Bowl because he had a great defense and he just did not screw things up. Maybe Mateer can develop into that.
Right,
The kid's got
right.
talent.
Well,
He can.
I think his heart and soul are in the right place. His guts are in the right place. The thumb was clearly bothering him again. I'm tired of hearing about that as an excuse, because everybody wanted to immortalize Dr. Shin, which I'm like, did he do all that great a job? He's still in pain at this point, right? Because after that interception, you saw him doing this. It's sort of like, okay, I get it. Your thumb hurts. Um, that is what it is. Uh, it just the offense was not very good, especially after the first quarter. And then the first quarter, it was very competent. But I will tell you this, this as well as I do. Most teams, they map out their plays for the first, 2 or 3 series. So the minute that you have to start calling it on the fly, it becomes tough.
And that's maybe where the Arbuckle question really comes into play, is the fact that Bama clearly adjusted.
Yeah.
OU did
Right,
not.
right. So,
Bama adjusted on both sides of the
agreed.
ball.
Alabama's great.
And the defense of OU held it together, but there's a point where the offense has
Right,
got to
right.
help them out. 3 and outs are not the way to do
So
it.
overall, I'm super happy with OU getting to the playoff. They did a good job. Toast to them, man. I will tell you a little bit of frustration with the offense, and I hope that coaching staff and the program and Jim Nagy are aggressive about improving the offense. You have to have both to have a shot, because the expectation is that OU gets a chance to come back. And that's the hope, that the Sooners are in there at least every year or two. Because I'll tell you, Jeremy, if we're here talking and OU is 7-5, 6-7 next year, the questions about Venables are going to return.
As they should,
Yeah.
though. I mean, as they should. I mean, because you could argue now, and this is just, hindsight being 2020. You could argue now that those wins that they had to have, there was some smoke and mirrors involved there. and eventually that runs.
Yeah, it's still toast to him, but smoke and mirrors are for sure. You got lucky, and that's fine. But OU was in such a good position with this game. Just got to give credit to Alabama. What do you think about Alabama's chances against Indiana?
Man, if they play like they did in the second half, I could see them beating
I
Indiana.
agree.
And just like we talked about, a week or two ago, maybe a week ago, where we said OU was on the great side of the bracket. Now Bama stepped into
Right.
that. Bama being the lower seeded, just like the NCAA tournament, they now have stepped into that where they go, and it's technically a neutral site game. I mean, it's at the Rose Bowl, and so you don't have a home field advantage. And can Indiana play in that type of pressure situation where they have to win? Every player on Bama's team has been through it. Every player has been through it. Those guys, I mean, last year was a little bit subpar for them, but they've been through those things. Has the guys for Indiana. And so I could absolutely now, you're going to have to give me a little bit of time to look at it, but I could absolutely see Alabama doing the exact same thing to Indiana that they did to OU tonight, getting behind a little bit, figuring it out, making the adjustments, winning the game.
Agree. In fact, I think that's what will happen. I don't want to downplay Indiana. It's just I'm not convinced.
Okay, so on that side of the bracket, and maybe we need to do a different pod
Uh,
for this. Does that mean Texas Tech now might make the national
I
championship game?
predicted them to make the national championship game. Remember Georgia versus Texas Tech?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I didn't. So
Do you see any other upsets tomorrow? I mean, I actually think Miami's going to hang with Texas A&M.
yeah, no, I could see that. I could absolutely see that. Oregon's just going to run roughshod. Um, those games. I think the one that could be is the one you just mentioned. Right? Absolutely the one you just mentioned. I could see that happening. I could see Miami because they're kind of a wild card. They're fun to have in the bracket because you never know
Right.
what they're going to do. I mean, again, I don't think they should have been there, but now that they are here, they could cause absolute chaos. And I kind of think they're going to win that.
Yeah, I think uh, it's going to be a good game, and I wouldn't be surprised either way. Well, we have been on here for 22 minutes, Jeremy. You are in Reno with the OSU Cowboys wrestling team.
Well, no,
Right, so
not this time. It's a giant tournament called the Reno Tournament of Champions, and the tournament director is a buddy of mine that I've worked with at Oklahoma State for a long time, and now he's doing his other thing. And so he brings me out to take pictures at the tournament. So every late December, I come out to Reno for a few days and work the wrestling tournament. Yeah, it's a big high school and then a small college.
that's awesome, man.
So, dude, today 10 hours of
Yeah.
wrestling. That's too much.
It's too much of a good thing.
It really is. But I got some of the video that we're gonna use when we talk about the rules of
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, because I want the lesson. I want to know. And I think we need to do a video on the rules of cricket also. Because I will tell you, yeah, I'm drinking bourbon. I'm going to have another bourbon here. I once stayed up until 3:30 one morning and watched India versus Pakistan.
Okay, so a buddy of mine is from India and is a huge cricket fan. I bet I could get him to come on and
That
explain
would
the
be
rules.
amazing. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. All right.
I'll reach
Well,
out.
let's call it an addition for this one. Toast one more time to the Sooners. Uh, you know,
Good
good,
season.
good
Really good
season.
season.
It is on to next year, and it's on to next year for the Oklahoma State Cowboys and Eric Morris. It's going to be an exciting time. There's speculation that Drew Mestamaker may have turned down some money from Indiana. The problem with social media right now is I can't tell what's fake, and I'm a journalist. I'm like, I cannot believe anything I see unless it really comes from a tried and true entity. So we'll be all over that. We'll get this posted. Have a good time in Reno, dude.
I appreciate that. We'll see what
All
we
right.
can do.
Until next time, it's Ryan, Boomer Sooner, and Jeremy.
Go Pokes.